Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that I'm going to show you today, is this indicative of a conflict inside the ATF between the executive bureaucratic political leadership like Steve Dettelbach and the lower high-ranking leaders? Because what I'm about to show you is a complete contradiction. One of the leaders just said guns are not the problem. Oh, we got some stuff to break down, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think about this one. So, of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on if you are down to pass the blessings of the Second Amendment along to the next generation with us. And this content is brought to us by Ammo Squared. And the coolest part about this sponsor, I just have to tell you about the concept and the idea. You're talking about a 401k or an investment plan concept for your ammo needs. It's really intriguing. Deposit money at whatever amount you want per month, and you can have what you desire shipped whenever you want it shipped without actually holding it yourself. So it avoids the flexible demand needs that we see on a day-in basis in our industry. It's really interesting. So check them out. There's Google, you can Google it, and it's also an Instagram account, which you can also check out. But again, it's Ammo Squared, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. But now let's go back to the content, because this right here, beautiful people, when you see ripples underneath the surface like this, you got to ask the question, what is going on? So I'm going to jump right to the payoff and then show you how we got there. This is a quote from the article, which is linked into the description box below. Quote, "Guns are not the problem," said DeVito, who plans to retire next month. "I'm an advocate of the Second Amendment. At the end of the day, the problem is guns ending up in the hands of the wrong people." That is highly contradictory to the White House, to the executive bureaucratic leadership of the ATF, and this guy is the top ATF agent in New York. What is going on here? Let me show you all the details, walk through the article, and show you how we got there. Top ATF agent in New York City reflects on gun violence after his mom was gunned down when he was a teen. This was published on the 30th, so this is yesterday, okay? This is so fascinating, or the day before yesterday, rather. It's so fascinating because that's not at all what this article is titled as, but listen to where this goes. The top agent with the ATF in New York City takes gun violence personally. His mom was shot to death by a deranged boyfriend who also shot him when he was 15. As we continue here, they're building the bona fides and the credentials of this New York City ATF officer, the top one, all right? Street agent in Miami investigated armed drug trafficking organizations, armed robberies of commercial businesses, armed carjackings, gang-related racketeering, murders, and firearms trafficking offenses. He also served his 10 years as an operator on the ATF Special Response Team, tactical groups that respond to high-risk law enforcement operations. So if you were in the ATF and you were a proponent of the ATF, this guy has had his fingers in every single part of the ATF. They're building in the credibility in these bona fides, okay? Now let's get back into what happened here, and then I'll show you how he arrived at that, because this is so fascinating, particularly when he goes into ghost guns. In New York, DeVito helped push for stronger partnership between the NYPD and ATF, setting up daily in-person and Zoom meetings about shootings in the city that grew into gun violence strategic partnership that now includes multiple agencies. His goal is bringing the agencies together was to ensure the guns used in crimes could be traced immediately and on a regular basis instead of sporadically after ending up in a pile to find out where they came from and if they've been used in other crimes. So what he's referencing in his history is criminals and tracking criminals and where they're getting guns from. It's not specifically along the Steve Dettelbach Biden administration of just take the guns from everybody because guns are the problem. There's a very clear distinction and delineation which gets us to the point of that quote that I read at the very end. It's not the guns, it's the criminals. I'm not being an apologist for the ATF. I'm not. What I'm saying is there seems to be contradictory opinions coming at very high levels inside the state leadership of the ATF, which is in contrast to the director of the ATF, Steve Dettelbach. Let's keep going. Let me show you some other stuff here. Here we go. New York is looked at as a model now, and here comes the big point. He's got 2 twin-year-old girls, and he's about to retire, so he's on the way out. But says again, guns are not the problem, said DeVito, who plans to retire next month. I'm an advocate of the Second Amendment. At the end of the day, the problem is guns ending up in the hands of the wrong people. So the leader of New York, a gun control state for the ATF, is openly saying the problem is not the guns themselves. I am a Second Amendment advocate. The problem is the criminal. And now go back to the points of what I just referenced on his background and his jacket. You're talking about someone who has spent his time looking at the criminal element. He is not a fresh newbie in the ATF. He's someone who's done this for a long time. Again, I'm not being an apologist for the ATF. I'm trying to highlight how this seems contradictory to what we're hearing from the mouthpiece at the top, who seems kind of like an empty suit. One more thing for you. He even says about ghost guns, this is interesting because 3D printed guns, he throws his hands up in the air. Right now, anyone who wants a gun can use a 3D printer to manufacture the main gun body, but still has to buy gun parts, he explained. You still have to buy certain gun parts because you can't digitally print them. But that's about to change. That's the next evolution, he said. Eventually, the composite plastics will become so durable you'll start seeing them manufacturing the slides and possibly the barrels at some point in our lifetime. What he just said without saying it is any and all gun control that is on the books right now since 1934 is going to be rendered moot because you're going to be able to print everything out on your own on a 3D printer, as American as it is. Just like in our history where we forged our own firearms. This is a thing. So the guy who's leading the ATF in the New York office, or New York division, openly says that gun control in a roundabout way is going to circumvent all gun control. 3D printing is going to circumvent all gun control, or gun control is going to be circumvented by 3D printing at some point in our lifetimes. So why are we still pushing with the gun control nonstop? Gun control doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. The ATF guy in charge of New York openly just said that guns are not the problem. And yet, we have an entire scenario built up by the executive bureaucracies and the leader of that exact same organization saying that, well, guns are the issue and we have too many and the pressure is just too high on this issue. And the White House is pushing them to do even more through reinterpreting all the different rules. I'm not a Nostradamus or a prophet or anything, but when you have the top agent in one of your biggest states, from population-wise, saying that guns aren't the problem, it's the people who get the guns, meaning it's criminals, that's kind of going to cause a problem with your big push at the top of being guns are the problem. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.